Hi, this is Bernardo Cubria, and to learn more about my play and the Together LA Festival, watch this video. I fell in love with the theater world because of my mom, so I blame my mom for everything that's happened in my life. My mother and father loved the theater. They would take us when we were kids. I grew up in Houston, Texas. I moved there when I was 2 years old from Mexico City, and we would go to the big Broadway musicals that would come into town. And my first real big memory of theater is being at Jesus Christ Superstar when I was about like 5 or 6. And I remember, so you'll be shocked, but I'm Mexican, so I grew up Catholic. And we were sitting, and at the big sort of final crucifixion scene, I stood up on my chair and started yelling in a crowded theater to take Jesus down from the cross. And it made such a scene that afterward, all of the performers asked me to go backstage. And I got to meet the performer who played Jesus, who I at 5 years old thought was actually Jesus and had resurrected himself from the cross. And it was so transformative and moving that I think that I will never forget that. And so that I think is where it all started. But my mom loved theater. My mom wanted to be a dancer growing up. She just grew up in a country and in a culture where, you know, in a generation where that was not an option for her. And so I think a lot of my artistry comes from her. Artistry. Yeah. I realized I wanted to be a writer pretty early on in my life, but I never allowed myself to think of it as my profession or what I was going to do. But from as early as 6 or 7, I have notebooks in my house still filled with poems. Especially in middle school and high school, I would always buy these leather-bound poetry books. And when my family was on vacation, I would sit on park benches and like write these rhyming poems with rhymes like love, above, dove, you know, not very good. But I always wanted to. In the 7th grade, I wrote a whole play based on the O.J. Simpson trial, which was like a sketch. So looking back on my life, I'm like, oh, I always wanted to be a playwright. But it wasn't until fast forward, I'm 26. I just got to New York City, and I took a Labyrinth theater master class. And that theater company has a class where it's basically sort of all the aspects of theater in 8 weeks. And you do producing, you do acting. And I did it as an actor. But 2 playwrights taught us playwriting. One named Brett C. Leonard, who is one of my mentors and still a good friend, and then David Barkatz. And David Barkatz gave us a challenge. And he said, this weekend, turn off your cell phone, buy a couple bottles of booze, lock your doors, and on Friday start writing, and on Sunday night write end of play. And he said, don't edit, don't rethink anything that you're writing, just do it, and then you'll have a first draft. And that was the first play I ever wrote, which is a terrible play, not a very good play, but it got me on my path. And after that weekend, I realized I really, really, really like writing, and that I wanted it to be a part of my career. So my process in writing a play is still very much inspired by that David Barkatz challenge, which is my first drafts come out fast and furious, because I believe that the quicker you can get out sort of the initial intention, the initial sort of motivation, the better. And then the rewriting takes years and years and years and years and fixing it. But most of my plays, I write the first draft in about a week. I don't share that draft with anyone. It's not ready. It's not nowhere near close for anyone to see it. But then I just start, I do private readings in my house with my friends. Back in the days when you could invite friends over, I would buy them, cheap bagels, cheap orange juice, some cheap coffee, and just hear it out loud and get some feedback with sort of my close-knit group of people and confidants who I trust and whose opinions are always helpful. And then I just keep doing that over and over again until I'm willing to submit it to theaters. And then, I've been lucky that then those theaters will then do workshops, and you just keep building it and making it better and fine-tuning. I have to shout out the theater company I'm a part of here in Los Angeles called the Ammunition Theater Company, because they, through their writers group, just through their members, they have been such a big part of my development as a playwright, because they really, really allow me to always have a space to go with my pages and hear them out loud and get excellent feedback and then make it better. So I first heard about Ammunition Theater Company because before I moved to Los Angeles, you know, I'm on this website called playsubmissionhelper.net that a lot of us playwrights are on, and they just have sort of, you know, places that are looking for submissions. And I saw this new theater company in Los Angeles, small theater company, was looking for its first play to produce. I sent them this play of mine that was pretty crazy called Judgment of Fools. I sent it, didn't hear anything for like a year. In that year, it just so happens my wife and I decided to move to LA. So about a month before I moved to LA, I get this email from this small theater company in Los Angeles saying, we're going to do your play. It's going to be our first production. And so it was so lucky and so just, it felt like the fates coming together. I landed in Los Angeles and about 2 days later had a rehearsal to go to. And so it was such an easy transition for me because the thing I was most afraid of in leaving New York was leaving behind sort of the theater and my theater community. And so I got super lucky. And that was about 5 years ago, and I won't let them kick me out. So I just keep showing up to their meetings. So I heard about the Together LA virtual stage festival through my friend Kim Hamilton, who is one of the artistic directors of our theater company, Ammunition Theater Company. And when COVID hit, a bunch of the artistic directors in Los Angeles were getting together for these big meetings about what to do. What are we going to do with this art form? How are we going to keep it alive? And our artistic directors, if I may toot our own horn, Kim Hamilton, Malcolm Barrett, and Julie Bersani have been a huge part of creating this festival. And so just through my friendship with them and through being a part of the theater company, I've heard sort of from inception to this. I mean, it's been such an undertaking, and it's such an amazing thing that all of these artistic directors have created. And it really makes me so proud to be a part of the Los Angeles theater community. And so honestly, I wanted to be involved because I want to be a part of this community, and I love being a part of this community. But when Kim asked me to write a play to sort of represent our theater company, it was just a great honor. And I was super excited to sit down and write something for our company members. But it was not like an active desire to be in it. I would have been involved with this festival as a stagehand, as anything, because I think it's so deeply important to showing, one, the unity in Los Angeles theater, and two, that, you know, we're not done. Theater is not dead. We will continue to strive. And yes, this is a really, really challenging time, but we will continue to work together and to create stories because we can't stop. So the idea for the play, The Token, came from just the politics of the moment, which was that the George Floyd assassination had happened. And, you know, like all of us, I was sitting at home, I was dealing with a lot of feelings. And the one thing that was really hard for me was seeing all these theaters put out these statements where it felt like they just now realized that racism exists in America. And they just now were, for me, it's been so hard. You know, I'm a light-skinned Latino man. I am Mexican. And so I've had a lot of privilege, but I've also never not known that I'm not another, because from the moment I came to this country, that we were others, right? I remember my father being told to talk American at the supermarket when I was 5 years old. You know, I've always known this existed. I've always known it was a problem. And so I guess there was a resentment and an anger about these people who were just now suddenly coming to the realization that there was racism in this country. And so I wanted to also understand that side, because I don't walk in other people's experience. I don't know what their life experience is. So I wanted to be fair. And I thought, well, what would happen if someone who ran a theater called up one of their sort of token minority members or BIPOC members and wanted to have a conversation about this moment in history? And what are all the unspoken things about race that we don't talk about with our friends? Because a lot of that has come up. I mean, I can't tell you how many dinners we've had very difficult conversations with friends who didn't realize sort of the world and the privilege and the imbalance that existed, and especially in the theater world. And I wanted to talk about the theater world because this is a theater festival and all the theaters in the city are going to watch it. And I had something to say to the theaters of Los Angeles about things that I think we can all improve upon, and every company, even our own. So what happens is a woman named Lindsay, who's the artistic director of a theater company, calls up a black member of her theater company, sends a text message just checking in on them during the whole George Floyd protest moment. And he responds saying, yeah, I actually would like to talk. And in that conversation, he confronts her about the lack of representation in the programming within that theater company and the sort of resentment of them posting messages about unity and about getting better. Because a lot of us do have resentment towards people who are just now coming around to this. And I also hope that I show the other side as well. So the two actors in my play are Mallory Felt and Malcolm Barrett. They're two amazing, tremendous actors who one of the reasons I'm in the theater company and Ammunition Theater Company is because of the strength of our members. Malcolm was in my play, The Judgment of Fools, which was the first play that Ammo ever did. I fell in love with him throughout that process as an artist. He is truly one of the most gifted actors I've ever watched or seen. And he's also a really great writer. I directed one of his plays last year. And so I always am trying to get him in my plays because I like having actors who also have a writer's brain in the room so that I can improve my play. And then Mallory was a newer member to our company who I very quickly was taken by her talent, her dedication, her skill. And she was an understudy in my last play. And during that process, I just loved her, how gifted she is as a performer and how hardworking she is. I mean, she was at every rehearsal. She was always willing to learn to be better. And so I always wanted to have the experience of having her be in one of my pieces. And so this has been, in a small way, a really great way to work with both of them. What I want the audience to get out of this play is I just hope that it leads to conversations at home, about this moment, about race in this country. I don't need them to agree with me, and I hope that my quote-unquote opinion is not the only thing that they take away from the piece. I hope that, I think one of the really difficult and dangerous things that's happening in this country right now is that we've lost all nuance. And I think that these things are complicated and that they exist for a reason. And so I hope, my dream of dreams is that people are sitting at home and they turn around and have a very nuanced, intelligent conversation about race. That who knows if that's possible, but that's what I would like. What I'm most looking forward to in the Together LA virtual festival is just to see plays, to see all of LA theater come together, to see the incredible amount of talent and skill on display. I also think it's so cool that we're using Twitch as a platform because we have the opportunity to reach other people. And one of sort of the great ills of the American theater, in my opinion, is that we only perform for theater people or for sort of wealthy older people who are our subscriber base. And on Twitch, we hopefully will reach, people who may have never even been to the theater or who don't really care that much about theater, but may be interested because they know Malcolm Barrett from the TV show Timeless and because he's also a gamer. Or, I just think how exciting. And also, let's be frank, with LA theater, you usually have 40 people in the audience on a good night. With this platform, we could have thousands upon thousands of people watching one of our plays. It's really exciting. It's quite a moment. And I hope it's not something we stop doing. I hope when we all come back and do theater the way we all rather do it and prefer to do it, that we still remember that there's this way of getting our words out there and our stories out there. I think it's super important that the people of Los Angeles and Orange County and all the surrounding areas, I think it's really important to support your local theaters. But I also think that one of the reasons they don't is because we haven't helped them come. I think all of the theater world in this moment needs to look in the mirror and ask themselves why only a certain segment of the population goes to the theater. And what mistakes have we made out of fear, out of systematic racism, out of systematic classism to alienate a large portion of the population? We need to make theater a cool place for people to come. In Shakespeare's day, it wasn't just the rich people who went to the Globe, right? The people who were standing in the pit, drinking beer and watching the bear baiting happen, those were people who were just as likely go to a sporting event or a wrestling match or You know, they were not spoken down to. They were not told that they were another. They were not made fun of for not knowing, you know, certain books and certain intellectual whatever. We need to reach out to a broader audience, and we need to do it now. And we need to go door to door in our communities and let people know that the theater is for everyone. So I honestly place the blame more on us than I do on the people of Los Angeles. And I hope that we can reach out to you more and more so that you will come into our building. I think the reason the SoCal audience should watch this festival, why they must, one is it's going to be good. The talent in this group of people, you know, I'm embarrassed and in awe and humbled to be included among these group of people. These are going to be great plays. They're short plays. They're like little perfect chicken nuggets of plays. It's 10 minutes. You come in, you come out. And also, you know, in a deeper, more political, I guess, sense, to support artists. We're hurting right now. Artists really, really need your support right now. One of the many things that one of the many tragedies, and I don't pretend it's the worst tragedy of this moment in history, is that a lot of theaters in this country are going to go out of business. They're furloughing their employees. They're firing their employees. They're shutting down their doors. You know, our industry is criminally underfunded by this government, and we need your help. We need your support. We are only trying to create stories so that people can come together and commune and grow and think about what it means to be human. And you watching this festival helps make sure that that can continue to happen, and that the most talented and most gifted people who do this get to keep doing this art form instead of everybody just running away to TV and film, which all of us are doing because we need money, but most of us rather be in the theater. You'd be surprised. We want to be in the theater, and we want to be creating these kinds of stories. So please, starting October 1st, go to ammunitiontheater.com and follow the links so that you can watch the Together LA Festival.